Okay, so I'm back here on my Nikon. I'm on the D5200 again, this time on the 85mm, because what we're gonna do here is a little bit different. This is the situation where I would use the AI Servo or the Continuous Servo function. So let me go ahead and turn that on right now. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the quick shooting menu, and we're gonna turn on the focus mode. We're gonna go into Continuous Servo AF. I'm also gonna select the AF area mode. Again, we're gonna use the same single point AF because I want it to be as accurate as possible. But in the continuous servo mode, we do have other options available, other area options available. So if you aren't sure exactly where you want it to be focusing, choose an area option because it will give you a little bit more kind of leeway to get the focus. But I'm gonna go with single point AF.
Okay, what are these area options that Pi's talking about when it comes to AF or autofocus? Well, depending on your camera, you're gonna have different area options when it comes to AF. For example, here I've got a much more advanced camera. I've got a 5D Mark III. And on this camera, we can enter into the select AF area mode. And when you're using the single AF point, we can actually expand the AF area to surround or create zones around that AF point. So if you want to have spot level AF control, but then you want a little more leeway for moving subject, you might use a spot AF with an AF area surround, which will use all the points around that selected AF point to focus. It's a lot of AFs to talk about. But these types of modes give you a little more room for error. But remember that they also come at a cost because you'll lose a little bit of control over which exact point is being used for focusing. So it might not be something you want to use when, let's say, you're shooting a portrait. Because, well, in portraits, we generally want to use the most accurate single point AF for focusing. But it might be useful when you're shooting moving objects, like in the scene that Pi's shooting right now. So let's get back to that video.
With continuous servo, the reason I always say to be careful is because your center point is always going to be the strongest AF point in your camera. And this means that if you're using a center-based composition, then AI servo typically will work really, really well. When you're using a continuous servo or an AI servo mode, the problem is that if you're using any of these outside AF points, well, you're likely going to get a lot of misfocused images. And that's why during, say, a wedding processional, even when they're coming straight down the aisle, we still would often use single shot because I'd rather shoot and refocus on every single shot, maybe have one or two that are misfocused, than let AI servo handle it and kind of miss a bunch of them. But this is one of those compositions that AI servo will work totally fine because we're in a bright situation. I'm also going to use a center composition, framing Yvette right in the middle as she runs right along the line. So we're going to be using the center AF point, and everything is set up for this to work correctly. So in my settings, the other options that I have enabled is for my continuous modes. I have, instead of shooting single frame, I'm shooting continuous high speed, okay? This is gonna allow us to capture multiple frames as she's running through. And this is really the strength of the servo mode because we can capture a bunch of shots in a row as she's running towards us, and they all should at least be sharp. Okay, so Yvette, are you ready?
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and let me dial in my settings real quick. I'm just gonna get a quick test shot. We've been using around 800 IA, 800 shutter speed, and around f2 and 100 ISO. So let me just double check to make sure that our histogram looks good. And it does. 800 shutter speed is going to keep her frozen even when she starts getting close. Remember, as the action gets closer to the frame, as it gets closer to the camera, you need to be using a higher shutter speed to completely freeze it. So 800 is going to be completely adequate. Okay, Yvette, you ready to run? All right, let's run through. I'm gonna keep her in the center of the frame, and we're gonna shoot right when she gets kind of that midpoint. I'm gonna keep firing, lock her in, and we're gonna go until we get an awesome expression. Okay, Yvette, go for it. Now, if you notice, my camera is kind of choking very quickly, and this is because I'm shooting RAW plus JPEG. Shooting RAW in and of itself is going to slow down the camera's buffer like we've talked about before. So if you want to shoot fast and RAW is not giving enough for you, then switch over to JPEG. Right now I'm shooting RAW plus JPEG, so we're writing as much information, well, basically as the camera can, and so we're kind of choking up around 5-6 images. I'm going to go ahead and switch to JPEG right now, and just to kind of show you guys that we can get a few more when we're shooting in JPEG in the burst modes. What I am going to do first though is just make sure that all my settings are perfect. When you're shooting JPEG, it's even more important that you dial in all the exact settings that you need, from the picture control down to the exact settings for your shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, for your overall exposure and everything. And we're solid right now, so we're going to go ahead and shoot this on JPEG, see if we can get a few extra shots out of it. All right, Yvette, go ahead and run it again. All right, did you notice that time how we got more shots? We probably got double the amount of shots before the camera had to stop and transfer the images over to the memory card. And it looks like we got several good shots of eVetter. Okay. Hopefully you understand the differences now between single shot versus servo modes, and also basically the strengths of each of them, which situations work best for single shot versus which situations work best for servo, kind of the overall weaknesses and different situations where each of these modes might have a hard time. Also remember that we do have that third kind of automated mode where it chooses between single shot or the servo mode for us. But again, that's a mode that I typically would not want the camera to handle for me. I want to take control of that for myself. Okay, so the assignment this time is to basically go and shoot some sports or action. I want you guys to try out the different AF modes that you have available. After you get a shot that you like, upload it to SR Lounge and tell everybody about it. What was your experience? What AF mode did you use? Did you notice any shortcomings? What helped you out? And so forth. That's it for this video, and we'll see you all in the next one.